So now we're gonna move on to our main speech session, solar in real estate. So today's guest speaker is Marisa Fletcher. She is a CEO of King's Solar Trust. I would like to introduce our committee member to introduce her information. So I want to introduce Jacqueline Lorenzana to share her bio. Thank you, Jacqueline. Take it over, please.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so Marisa Fletcher is both licensed real estate broker for more than 15 years, as well as an independent certified solar broker, serving the Inland Empire and surrounding counties. Her number one priority has always been to provide the highest level of customer service and value to our clients for all the real estate related matters. 3 years ago, Marisa was introduced to Powur Solar, and she began working exclusively in the solar industry as a green certified realtor. Now, her number one goal is to educate her fellow realtors and peers on the intricacies of solar and how realtors can help their clients when they decide to go solar. With nearly 3 million solar energy systems installed on the residential rooftops across the country, buying or selling a solar home is getting more and more common. When it comes to homeowners, no matter if they purchase a system with Marisa or not, she is always available to answer any questions regarding solar. Her mission is to help customers enjoy the reward of affordable, clean, and renewable solar power from a local provider they can trust. Marisa has partnered with Powur Energy, a #1 rated company of independent solar power in the United States. And this allows all of her clients to get responsive, dependable personal service they deserve. Combined with the options and security they expect, Marisa wants to be your go-to solar broker for all things solar related. She is here to make sure your clients' solar systems provide a lifetime of benefits to them. Allow me to introduce a warm welcome to Marisa Fletcher.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. Can everybody see my screen and hear me? Great. I saw thumbs up. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Women's Council and our visitors for taking the time out of your day today to listen to me speak about solar. So Jacqueline gave a great intro as to who I am. I've got this background in real estate and I've crossed that over with solar. So I am excited to share with you guys how those two tie in together and how you can understand solar better so that you can assist your clients when they've got these questions. Okay, so I am going to jump right in. All right, so today, the agenda is first we're going to talk about false claims. There's a lot of times our clients they get bad information. And so there's some false claims that I want to correct for you guys right away. Then we're going to talk about if solar is a good fit. We're going to understand the solar roles and the solar process. I'm going to tell you how to find a qualified solar provider so you can help your clients. I'm also going to tell you about the different financing options when it comes to solar. And then I'm going to share a couple of scenarios with you, how I was able to help clients save with solar. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about our Realtor Partner Program. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so the first thing as real estate professionals or lending professionals or any other professional that's going to be advising a client on solar is to watch out for the false claims that are out there. Okay, most solar providers are honest and fair. However, as within any industry, there are some that are not. Okay, and there's some false claims that are made sometimes to our clients about solar, which gives them a bad taste in their mouth or a bad feeling about solar. So we want to make sure that businesses our clients are dealing with are not giving our clients these false claims and expectations. So number one, if they tell you can get free solar energy at no cost, that is absolutely not true. Solar energy is rarely free. An honest company is going to be upfront and they're going to tell you and explain everything in detail, and they're going to tell you what it costs for you to pay off that system over time. There is one exception There are a few government-funded solar programs out there that offer low-cost solar for low-income households, okay? So there are some programs out there. Now, before I go into the next slides, I do wanna let you all know that after this session is recorded, you will get a copy of this PowerPoint. So you can either take screenshots, but you'll also get a copy of this PowerPoint. And then there's another solar guide that I'm gonna be sharing with you as well that's gonna go over all this information too, so that you can have it as a future reference, okay? So that's the first false claim you wanna watch out for. I've had clients come to me and they thought their solar was free, and there's no such thing as free solar unless you qualify on these low income programs. The second false claim is you will never pay an electricity bill again after that solar system is installed. Sometimes that is misrepresented to clients before they go solar. So after going solar, you typically are going to have a small electricity bill that you have to pay every month to your utility company. There's a connection fee, there's an interconnection fee. My personal fee is $15 a month that I pay for my solar system. But every month I have a minimum charge between $10 and $15 a month, okay? Also at the end of a 12-month cycle, you may get a larger bill. You're going to get another bill. It's called a true up bill. Okay. And so if I use more energy than my system can produce, that means I still had to use some energy from Edison. That means at the end of the year, I'm still going to owe them a little bit of money. And that's how it works for our customers as well. Also, if your customer takes on a solar loan, they're going to have a monthly payment to the solar company. Okay. And that payment is usually going to be less than whatever their electricity costs were previously, but they're still going to have a monthly payment to the solar company. The other way is if they do something called PACE, which we'll talk about later. They won't have a monthly payment to a solar company, but they are going to have a payment once or twice a year with their taxes. Okay, so never are you not going to pay a bill again when you go solar. It just depends on how you set it up, on what those payments are going to look like. And then last but not least, there's another false claim that goes around out there. There's reps that maybe door knock or they meet your client somewhere and they say, hey, you know what, you got to sign up now. You're going to miss out. Sign up now, sign on this DocuSign electronic tablet and we'll get you installed, okay? You don't want to work with reps like that. An honest solar rep is going to take their time, explain everything from beginning to end, and they are not going to try to rush you into anything, okay? Also, California law requires that all solar salespeople show you the contract terms before you sign. So it shouldn't be where you're approving the solar right then and you're signing everything right away. You should have a period of time that you're allowed to review the contracts and the terms to make sure they match your expectations. Okay, so those are the big three things that I find in the real estate industry. Whenever there's a negative connotation to solar, when it comes to a client, it's usually because a client was misrepresented, or they didn't understand, or they didn't have the proper expectations set up front. Okay. Now, I also run into a lot where clients or consumers feel like they've been victims of fraud. Why don't you guys take a screenshot of this? Because if I've run into it, I'm sure you have as well. This is who you direct a client to if they feel they've been a victim of solar fraud, okay? And that way they can get their issues heard and get some resolution depending on who that solar company is, okay? And again, you're gonna get a copy of this right after this recording. All right, so I'm gonna go through the 5 steps that you should be helping your clients with to determine if solar is a good fit for them, okay? Uh-oh, didn't mean to do that. All right, so step number 1. So solar panels, they're put on the roof or on the ground. They can go either way, and they're going to convert the energy from the sun into energy that your house can use. Okay, so it's going to power your house, your lights. You can even power electric vehicles with solar and appliances, everything electric in the home. Okay, it's the technical term is solar PV. So it's a solar photovoltaic panels is what they're called. Okay. So how do you know if solar is a good fit for your house or even for your clients? Well, there's 3 main things that we've got to check first, okay? The first one is sunlight and the roof. Sunlight and the roof. So if the roofs are mostly shaded or if they're facing north, you've only got roof space facing north, that house might not be the best benefit, the best candidate to go solar. I just had a client 2 weeks ago. She's got these huge oak trees that grow on each side of her home, and they're really, really high in the sky. You're not allowed to cut them. You're not allowed to do anything with them. And they are shading her roof so badly that solar doesn't make sense for her house. Okay. So shade matters. How much sunlight your roof gets also matters. Now, my solar company, we operate out of 20 different states. We do residential solar out of 20 different states. So each state is different and you're gonna have different results. But California, as we all know, we've got good old sunny California and we pay for this weather. So because we've got all this sun and this great weather, it makes it really good for solar placement on rooftops in California, okay? But before we can place solar on a roof, your roof's gotta be in good condition. Okay, that's another big concern that happens with solar. And so when we go out and we check the rooftop of solar, if you're gonna need roof repairs in the next 2, 3, 4, even the next 10 years, solar might not be a good candidate for you right now. You might not be a good candidate for solar. Why? Because you've got to replace that roof or repair that roof before we can put those panels on. We don't want a company that's gonna put panels on a bad roof and just give you issues later on down the line, right? Also, we already talked about shading. So if there's too much shading, you're not going to be a good candidate for solar. All right, so that was step 1. Step 2, I think this is the best part for us realtors and other professionals to understand when it comes to solar. But there's many people involved in the process of getting solar installed, okay? Solar is a construction job. And like I said, many people involved. So you've got your solar providers, you've got your salespeople, which is what I would be considered, a solar loan consultant. You've got manufacturers. You've got the installers that are gonna put the system on your house. You've got your electricity company and providers, depending on how they like solar, that's gonna matter. You've got the lenders that are doing the loans and putting the loans in place. If you go PACE, you've got the PACE authority to deal with, or PACE administrators that you have to deal with. And then last, but definitely not least, you have city or county inspectors that are involved in that process. And so it's kind of like real estate. It's very similar, right? We're mostly realtors on this line. We know we've got escrow, title, lender, blah, blah. And we're the puppet master in the middle, making sure everything goes smoothly and up to expectation. It's the same thing for me as a solar consultant, okay? So I've got to make sure that all of these entities are doing their parts and they're all lined up and they're all in place. I've also got to understand that this is a construction job, and with the state of the world today, things are changing and always rapidly adjusting, right? And so a typical solar install will take anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. But again, it still depends on all of these different entities and their roles, okay? So there's a lot of parties involved in getting solar installed correctly on someone's rooftop. All right, so step 3, I told you guys I was gonna tell you how to find good solar providers to help your clients, right? I don't know about you guys, but I know before I got into the solar industry, I had my past clients that purchased homes come to me all the time and try to vet solar pros or try to find a resource for solar. And I didn't have any, okay? So if you guys are in that same position, number 1, you have me if you need that resource. But number 2, you can go to the CSLB website and you can look up solar professionals that work in the area of where your client is. Okay, so number 1, you want to make sure the solar professional that's helping your client, they're licensed. We have to renew that license every 2 years. Okay, we get fingerprinted, background check, kind of the same thing as real estate, but they want to make sure that whoever's going into your client's home and speaking to your clients, they're licensed. And that's the website that you're going to go to find those solar professionals. So once you go to that website, you want to narrow down the list of providers that come up on that website. And then you want to find at least 3 providers to provide your client with, okay? So usually in California, it's very common that one client will go and talk to 3, 4, 5 people to get quotes. And that's the best thing for them to do. So they get all the information that they need and they can make the proper comparisons, okay? Now, here's the key when it comes to solar, especially when it comes to helping a client. Most consumers don't know what we need to ask. What should they ask? What should they be looking for? And that's what they would always come to me with. What should I ask? You know, what do I need? Let me give you guys an example of some of the questions that need to be asked and covered before a client signs a solar contract. You probably can't read this. Don't worry about it. You will get a copy. But some of the things we have to consider when choosing a solar provider. Number 1, what company is it? Who's the company? What's their background? How long have they been in business? Are they licensed? How many installs do they do? Okay, because all that matters, all that's important. But not only that, what about the design of that solar system? What about that client's roof? We need to ask these questions. Is the roof a good candidate? Does the roof need repairs prior to putting solar on the roof, right? What does that solar design look like? So there's another list of questions that should be covered before any contract is signed. Not done. What about warranties and the performance of the system? Who's responsible for what? If my system breaks in 20 years, who's going to cover that? Also, impacts on future sale of your home. That's a big one, especially for us realtors, right? How does this system, how is it going to affect me when I need to turn around and do a refinance? How is it going to affect me when I sell this home to another buyer? What's the impact to me with this system? And then again, what's the timeline? How long does it take to get the panels on my roof? Who are the parties that are involved? Who's responsible for making sure everything happens the correct way? So as you see, it's not just a one size fits all for clients. Really, when solar is done the right way, it's a customized approach to every client, right? And it's based on their lifestyle, their needs, and what they're looking for. Same thing with real estate. You know, as a real estate pro, you know, you never want to just throw a client in a car and then just start showing them property, right? We want to sit down and we want to ask them certain questions, find out their lifestyle, find out their comfortability, their payment scenario, all those things. That's the way that solar should be approached. Unfortunately, it's not commonly approached that way in the industry, but that's the approach that we take for it so that our clients have a good experience. Okay. Now, here's the good stuff. This is what's going to help you as a realtor or a real estate professional understand when you're helping a client buy a home that has solar on it, or you're helping a client that's already in a solar contract, right? The first thing they say is, what is this? What does this mean? How does this work? Well, it depends on how they finance their solar system. So there's basically 4 ways to finance a solar system. You can purchase that system, you can use cash, or you can get a loan. You can lease the system. You can use PACE, Property Assessed Clean Energy is what that stands for. I know a lot of you guys as real estate professionals have heard of PACE, where they put it on your taxes. Or you can do what's called a PPA, stands for Power Purchase Agreement. Okay, those are the 4 common ways to purchase solar, and each way has different rules and specifications to them. And we're going to break those down. All right. So if you purchase with cash or a loan, there are some pros and there are some cons. So the pros, obviously you're going to get the greatest return on your investment when you purchase a system with cash or a loan. When you're purchasing a system with a loan, you can do that with little or no upfront costs. I can help people go solar with 0 down. When you use cash or a loan, it's going to increase the home value. It adds value to the asset when it's a finance or cash or loan system. And then also, owners can directly receive tax credits and deductions if they qualify. So there's a little asterisk at the end of that. That's if they qualify, right? And we're going to talk about that. There's also some cons when it comes to purchasing with cash or a loan. Number 1, the owner is responsible for all the repairs and maintenance that system may need. And number 2, some solar loans place a lien on the property, okay? So depending on what lender they use or what financing, some companies place liens on the property. And we know what that does when a client tries to refinance, okay? So let's take a little bit of closer look at purchasing outright, either using cash or a loan. The reason why some clients go solar is because of the different incentives that are available out there right now. There's a really big federal tax incentive that's available. For the year 2022, the rest of this year, if a solar system is put in place and fully installed by December 31st, 2022, that homeowner may qualify for a 26% federal tax incentive, okay? Let me explain something here. That is not a rebate check. It's not a check. Okay, so if that 26% incentive equaled $5,000, the client is not going to get a $5,000 check at the end of their install. That's not how it works. When solar was sold before in the past, that's how it was sold. There's actually some companies out there right now that's how they teach reps to sell solar, and it's wrong. They're teaching reps the wrong way. So what this is a federal tax incentive. It only works if you have federal tax liability. I'm a business owner. A lot of you guys on this call are business owners. Every year I stroke a check to Uncle Sam, right? If I installed a solar system and I had a $5,000 federal tax incentive available, instead of cutting a check to Uncle Sam, I get to retain that money in my pocket. That's how it works, okay? So check with the CPA if that doesn't make sense. But for 2022, 26% of the overall cost of the system. 2023, that drops down to 22%. of the overall cost of the system. After 2023, there is no more federal incentive available as of today. So unless some new legislation comes into place, after 2023, there is gonna be zero federal incentive available, okay? Also, when you're purchasing with cash or a loan, unless you purchase a maintenance plan or your system comes with one, whoever purchased that system, the homeowner, is gonna be responsible for the maintenance and the repairs on that system, okay? So solar systems last 30, 40 years on record, right? So 20 years down the line, who's gonna be responsible for the maintenance and repairs? That's what we have to think about. Also, if you sell your home, the owner's gonna need to look for real estate agents and appraisers that have experience selling homes with solar. Why? Because if you have a cash or finance system, you get value from that system. So you've got to talk to a real estate agent and an appraiser that knows how to value those systems correctly. But you can include the cost of the system or the value of the system on the house sale price, just like any other major home improvement. Okay, so just like if you added a pool to a home, you get a certain value for that pool add, you get a certain value for the solar on your home. All right, and again, before any client would sign a contract, here's a list of questions that they need to ask if they're considering purchasing a solar system. Lots and lots of questions. All right, now let's talk about PACE financing. What if someone uses PACE financing, government financing? They can do little or no upfront costs. They have a longer repayment than a typical home improvement loan. Okay, so that's a pro. And then you can directly receive that tax benefit, that federal tax incentive is available if somebody buys a system using PACE financing. What are the cons? PACE financing results in a first priority lien on your property. Again, that lien on the property. So if the customer has to refi or anything, they've got to take care of that lien. Also, the customer is typically responsible for all the repairs and maintenance. So I'm giving you guys the scenarios and breakdowns. So if a client asks you, what does this contract mean? First, you need to determine what type of loan was it. Was it cash? Was it secured? Did they use PACE financing? Okay. So a closer look at PACE financing. PACE, they have a fixed term. It typically lasts anywhere between 10 and 30 years. There is a lien attached to the house with PACE. If the home is sold, the remaining balance of the assessment at the time of the sale has to be paid off. A lot of us as real estate agents are familiar with that. We might have had sellers that fell into this category. Also, when it comes to PACE, some mortgage lenders will not loan money to buyers to purchase properties with PACE liens. So again, it has to be paid off before the buyer could take it over. PACE assessments are typically due once or twice a year in larger lump sums with your property taxes, okay? And also, if the house is mortgaged, the loan company may increase the mortgage amount to pay monthly to cover the anticipated increase to the property tax bill. So in other words, instead of letting the homeowner pay it twice a year in November and February, they're just going to increase the monthly payment, whatever those solar payments are. Okay, so the homeowner will pay it that way. So that's what would happen if a client had a PACE loan. Again, here's a bunch of questions that if a client is thinking or considering going into PACE, these are the questions that they need to ask and need to be sure of prior to signing any contracts. Okay, and then the last options. What if a client has a lease or a PPA, power purchase agreement? Okay, so the pros of those type of systems, there's little or no upfront costs. The solar provider is responsible for all the monitoring, the maintenance, and the repairs of the system. And they also give what's called a minimum energy production guarantee. Okay, they say this system is going to produce this amount of energy at a minimum. The cons of leases and PPAs is that when you're selling the home, it gets complicated, right? The owner doesn't own that system. So when it comes time to sell, they either have to renew their lease, get a new lease, pay for the system outright. Those are the options that they have when it comes time to sell that home. And then also, here's another big thing that happens in the industry. What happens if the solar provider goes out of business during the contract term, right? So the homeowner gets a lease or PPA system that this solar provider is supposed to take care of for them for the 30 years, the life of the system, but they go out of business. Now what happens? Okay. All right, let's take a little bit of a closer look. So when a client has a leased system, That's where the solar provider installs and they own the system on that property. And they rent it to the client for a set period of time. They make the scheduled monthly payments to the client in exchange for all the electricity the system produces. The typical lease contract is 20 to 25 years, okay? So when I think of a lease, I think of it just like when you lease a car, right? You're only leasing it for a set amount of time. When that lease is up, you've got to decide what you're gonna do. Pay off the balance, buy the car, turn it back in, or do a new lease. It's the same thing with the leased solar system, okay? PPA, power purchase agreement. That's just another fancy term, you guys, to say lease. Okay, so PPA works just like a lease. So the solar provider owns the system on the property and they sell the electricity that system generates to the homeowner. PPAs are similar to leases, except that instead of making a fixed monthly payment for the system, you typically pay for all the power the solar system generates. So you're only paying for the power, not the system, not the equipment, okay? The contract specifies how much you're paying, the rate that you're paying, and then there's years where that rate goes up afterwards. So a typical PPA contract is 20 to 25 years. So back in the day, guys, when solar was really hitting the scene out here, there was hero loans, right? That we don't like as realtors. The reason why is because those were typically PPA transactions. They were leases or PPAs. The client thought they owned the system. They thought when their payments were done, they would own it, and that wasn't the case, okay? All right, also with PPA, if you sell your house before the lease or PPA contract is over, you will have to pay the solar provider the remainder of the value of the lease, right? Or you transfer it to the new property owner, but you still do not own the system, okay? So say I have the system and it's a 25-year contract. I've lived here for 10 years. I'm gonna sell this house, transfer the remaining 15 years over to the new buyer, but they don't own the system. They'll pay the remaining 15 years, and then at that time, they get to determine what they want to do with the equipment. Okay, so it all matters. The key that I want to point out to everyone on the call is what you do up front dictates what happens in the client's experience throughout the rest of the lifetime of them having this system. Okay, so it's really important on how it's set up initially. Another thing about leases and PPAs, those payments typically increase. It's not one fixed cost, it is for the year. And then each year that payment would jump up by 1 to 3% of the prior year. Okay, so a client thinks, oh, my bill's gonna be this amount. And each year it jumps up just a little bit, 1 to 3%. But at the end of 25 years, we can imagine just how much more they'd be paying, right? So those are the PPAs and leases. Those are typically, this is the product that's sold when a client gets door knocked. Okay, so these are the products that we see the most, and this is why we as realtors can't stand them. Okay. Again, questions that should be asked to the lender or solar provider when you're getting a lease or a PPA. So one thing I want to point out, guys, there's a ton of questions. There's a ton of information that has to be ascertained prior to signing someone up to go solar. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you guys some scenarios. We've come to the part where we've got some scenarios of clients that I've helped and how I've helped them. So here is a scenario from the Scott family. We helped them buy a home in Apple Valley. Miss Anita, we helped her buy a home in Apple Valley. It was 5,000 square feet, huge house. 3 adults in the home. It's her sister, brother. And they've got 2 small children in the home. The adults work from home. So they're home 24/7 and they use a whole lot of energy. They've also got a pool and they also got a jacuzzi. This client was referred to me by one of my realtor partners, okay? And so what I'm showing you here is this was her bill. This $462 bill was her bill. And now this is gonna be her new solar payment. And the system is gonna give her 115% of the energy she used last year, okay? She's also able to take advantage because she has a huge federal liability every single year. She's a business owner. So she can take advantage of this federal tax credit, which is gonna pay her about $13,300. Okay, so her solar result, she's saving anywhere from $250 to $300 a month on her bill. She's gonna use that federal tax incentive. And the realtor partner that referred this client to me got paid $1,000 for her going solar. Okay, so that's one scenario. The next scenario is the Sanchez family. So this is a young family. They came to me because they needed a new roof. And the cost of that new roof was $19,000. Now, something I may not have explained was if you need a new roof or you need roof repairs to go solar, we can wrap that all in the solar loan. Okay. Right now, when clients need new roofs, typically they've got to go take out a loan from somewhere else, or they've got to shell out their cash to cover the cost of that roof, right? Because a lot of roofers don't finance. But if you're going solar and you need a new roof, we've got to make sure that roof is in great condition. And so it can all be financed together. So that's what this family wanted to do. He didn't want to pay the $19,000 out of pocket. The reason why is because he's getting married in April. He needs that cash. His February bill was $255. Guys, that's not a high summer bill. That's a normal average bill. We get really high bills in June, July, August, September out here in the Inland Empire. All right. So his regular average bill was $255. Okay. Getting married in April, needs to save the cash, but he needed the new roof. His insurance was going to kick him off the insurance if he didn't get the roof repaired. He was also referred to me by a realtor. The end result is he gets a new lower monthly energy payment plus the roof. So that $167 payment that you guys see there includes his new roof. And it's less expensive than what he was just paying to the utility by themselves. He also can take advantage of the federal tax incentive, which in his case was $14,000. And that realtor partner made $1,000 for that referral. And then I've got one more scenario to share with you guys, the Gonzalez family. So this family lives in a 55 and older community. So this is a retired family, okay? Miss Gonzalez, both of her elderly parents live with her. And her biggest concern was to make sure she takes care of her parents in their final years, okay? She also wanted to control the summer bill spikes that happen. So this is a copy of what her utility looked like before she went solar. And as you see in the summer months, her bill spikes up. It doubles in most cases, okay? Her average utility bill is $135 a month. She was referred to me by a realtor partner that's actually on this call. Hello there. Now her new solar monthly payment, $61 a month. She still has to pay $10 a month to the utility because you still have a small connection fee, but she's down to $61 a month for her solar payment. We also have a promotion going that she took advantage of where she got 1 year worth of solar payments for free. So that's what you see down here. This $1,101 was a check that was mailed to her after her install to cover $61 for 12 months. It's going to add value to her home because she's financing the system. 98% of the clients that I work with, we finance or we go with cash. And then this realtor partner was also paid $1,000 for that referral. The number that you see here, this $18,000, is an estimated value add to her home if she were to sell her home today with that paid off solar system on it. So not only does she get this incentive, she also gets the value add to her home. Happy client, locked in rates. All right. And now I shared with you guys 3 different scenarios. I partner with realtors. I educate them on solar, and I also help answer their clients' questions, help them help their clients. When and if their clients sit with me and decide to go solar, you can make $1,000. So that's called our ambassador program, the Powur Ambassador Program. Costs you nothing. If you're interested, you can take a picture of that QR code, enter your info, and you're signed up. And that, my friends, is going to conclude my educational session. Right before that conclusion. So this class, guys, I condensed it to 30 minutes and I'm right at 30 minutes, but it's normally an hour and a half long class or an hour and 10 minutes or so with lunch. Next week at the Inland Valley Association of Realtors, the Riverside Board, I'm going to be teaching the same course, Solar 101, but with all the complete information. There's some steps that were left out for time, but that's going to be the complete course. If you'd like to be a part of that course, please go to that URL or shoot me a text message afterwards and I'll get you registered and enrolled. And then that, my friends, is going to conclude my presentation. Thank you so much for taking time to listen to me. And please, if you guys have questions, let me know.
I have a question. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So I currently am actually getting solar myself, and I'm dealing with an HOA, which is still educating itself on the legislation in California regarding HOAs and their what their role is. So they're new to this, it seems. My community that I live in happens to have view protections for ocean view protections.
Okay.
And my next door neighbor is making my life miserable and saying I have to move my solar to another roof, but it doesn't, So the way I read the legislation is any adjustment that's made has to be basically less than $1,000 value or 10% of the solar capacity or production. But he's saying that's the legislation. I actually have it pulled up because I'm in the midst of arguing with the people right now. So there is.
So here's the question: did the HOA approve your solar install?
Well, I actually there are standard policies in our HOA are that you have to put up story poles when you do any construction remodel of your property, so the neighbors can see if it's going to affect their views. I'm following through with that. I just had them come today. I've tried to negotiate with my neighbor as location. And I mean, the guy's 6'3" and he's got a little peekaboo view from his kitchen that's a window that's affected that nobody else would see. So he's saying, well, it's going to affect my view. And I'm like, well, unless, anyways, but the point is, I've been trying to just adjust them, but I'm keeping it all on one roof because, we have a one roof capacity. The other roof is obviously diminished. But he's like, well, move some of the panels and it's less than 10% of, affecting it in the capacity of solar. If say I have to add a panel or.
Are you going back and forth with him or the HOA?
I'm going back and forth with him, but I'm soon going to stop.
You should stop.
Just stop.
The HOA is the one that's going to approve the project. He doesn't even need to sign off anymore. Before you used to have to get your neighbors to sign off, but now that the legislation have passed,
okay,
the HOA is responsible. So you send everything over to them, and they are the ones that are going to tell you what adjustments need to be made in order for it to be approved. Okay?
Right.
And then you take that back with the solar company, and depending on those different adjustments, you work it out with them, and then that's it. You don't need your neighbor's approval anymore.
Well, the neighbor's approval is affecting the HOA. They're basically saying we need your neighbors to be happy, but
then they need to tell you how to make your neighbor happy. That's from the HOA though.
Right.
They're the architectural team.
Yeah. Yeah. So what though are they allowed to, like, they don't even, I've got the neighbors saying, well, like I mentioned, if I move it, that it's going to be not 10% affected. Right. So
reduce your production. It'll make it worse for you overall.
I believe so. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely would cost me maybe $1,000 or more to even move it, but it's the 10% or the 1,000. From the way I interpreted it, it's $1,000 no matter what, even if it's, unless it's less than 1,000 and then it's 10%.
Okay. That part, I'm not sure of the money, the monetary, this $1,000. I know HOAs try to fight because some are not familiar with the changes. They try to fight it. They'll try to deny it. You just need to keep going back to them. Really, your solar rep should, step in and take over on that part.
Okay.
That approval from the HOA. That's something that I do for my clients. I don't let my clients fight it out with the HOA.
Okay, that's good to know.
Go back to your rep, your consultant. I need help. I need this HOA approval. What suggestions do you have? If they're familiar with the area, they've got other contacts. They know who to go through. They know how to kind of push that point a little bit. But a neighbor is not supposed to be able to stop you from going solar. So it's just a matter of the HOA granting that approval once they discuss with him and figure out what we need to do to get it installed.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand the laws clearer because I'm back and forth with the neighbor about the law. And I don't think the HOA is that familiar with the law. So I'm just trying to see if anybody had some extra information on where I could find beyond the legislation that I'm reading, either a referral for somebody to speak to. Are there lawyers out here, real estate lawyers that would be able to?
Yeah, that'd just be a law thing. You just, and every lawyer, of course, is going to tell you something different. So
right, true. Okay.
It's a matter of interpretation of law.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Great. This is Cindy Wu, and I have a few questions in the chat. So first is Joanne. Did you want to ask your question?
Yeah, just curious, do you find most people purchasing your systems or leasing?
98% of my clients purchase.
They purchase.
And here's why. When I sit with the client, I explain the differences. This is what a lease provides you. This is what a purchase provides you. Some companies only go in with one option. So it totally depends. Like I just heard yesterday, there's one company, they only offer PPAs. So when they door knock clients, that's what they go and pitch them, PPA, that's it.
Okay.
So if a client, I find if a client knows their options and they're given both options, they're going to generally go with the cash or financed option. It provides them more value.
And then there's no warranty. I mean, is there a warranty or, you know, as far as maintenance, and you're on your own?
So depending on the company, the installer that provides it, you're on their warranty, right? So like with my company, there's a manufacturer warranty, which is general, right? But then we have a third party 30-year bumper to bumper warranty that goes on top of the manufacturer's warranty. So you need to find a product like that, which basically says if this company goes out of business, now this third party company will come in and take care of this system for your client.
Okay.
Not all companies offer that, but that's what you want to look for. There's one out there called Solar Insure. It's the #1 insurance out there. It's a 30-year coverage, bumper to bumper. It takes care of those clients when their mom and pop or, you know, whatever solar installer they use goes out of business. Now they've got this nationwide company backing them.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Okay. The next question is from Diane Scott Bay. How do you establish the value of the system?
How do you establish the value? Well, people buy solar for usually 3 reasons. 1, to save money today, 1, to save money in the future, and 1, to go green, save the planet. So it depends on what that client's interest is in solar. And then we build the value based on that. Another value add that I bring is that I have a real estate hat. I come from a real estate profession. Most solar reps put the glass on the roof and they disappear. You'll never hear from them again. After that install is done, that's it. The value that I bring to my clients is that I'm here for them, not just in the beginning, but also through the middle and in the end. So when there's questions later, if something comes up, I'm there to provide that value to them or to give them the right tools and resources. I also provide proactive monitoring with my company. And so we have monitoring systems so that if a panel were to go out 2 years, 3 years from now, it would alert us and we can be proactive and reach out to our clients to get that thing repaired and back online right away.
Great. So the next question is from Maria Honda. Okay, so she wanted to have your information, the chat again, if you wouldn't mind. And the next question is from Richard. And I believe Richard is able to join us on camera. Maybe not. So his question is, how can you determine the value of a solar system adds to a home?
How can you determine the value that it adds? You look at the numbers. So you look at the cost of what you're paying for electricity and your energy costs today, figure out what that's going to be in the time over time. And then you look at the cost of the solar system and figure out what the ROI is or figure out if it makes sense. So right now on average, Southern California Edison, the average rate is 26 cents to 29 cents a kilowatt for your energy that you use, right? With most solar contracts, we can come in at 13 cents a kilowatt and we're locked in at that for the next 25, 30 years. It's locked in for the life of that system. So think about that. Let's use gasoline as an example. When I started driving, which was 26 years ago, gas was 99 cents a gallon, right? Today, depending on, for whatever reason, who cares? It was $4 a gallon 2 months ago. Now it's $6 a gallon, right? When you go solar, you lock in the cost of your energy for the life of that system. In essence, the life of that home, because it's parked on that home for its life. So, you look at those things, you look at those costs, you look at the cost you'll get with going solar, you look at the numbers and you see if the math makes sense. And because California has such high energy costs, we don't get options of who we pay our energy bill to. Solar makes sense in California and many other states as well. We're in 23 other states where solar makes sense.
Great. Next, we have a question from Zanette Sheriff. And if you want to unmute yourself, Zanette.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So Marcella, I was reading because I just ordered my Tesla that's going to be ready in June.
Mine too.
So, they have a new sort of like solar panels that are like tiles for the roof.
Mm-hmm.
Do you broker for that too? Or
I actually don't broker for those. So our company doesn't partner and broker for those because those tiles are not tested, tried, and true. Okay. And they can create issues. I would just leave it there. But I can send you some more information on that if you'd like, so you can make the comparisons between tiles and traditional solar panels.
Okay. And then, Solar City is also owned by Tesla, right?
Yes.
Is that one of the ones you broker with, or?
With solar, so we don't broker with the individual company. We broker with the panels. We broker with the financing companies. So I work with Enphase, SolarEdge, the companies themselves. So that, see, I don't work for one specific company where I have to sell you like whatever company you just said, where I have to sell you what they tell me to sell you. I'm a broker. So I get to find out what you need, customize a design for that, and then I go to the right partner for what you need for your services.
That's like a mortgage broker. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Same thing. Exactly.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for the question.
Next, we have a question from Sherry Young.
I'm in a really noisy place. So could you just read my question? Thank you.
Actually, we don't hear your background noise if you want to ask it. But
Okay. So my question, the name of the insurance company, again, for the third-party insurance?
Solar Insure. Solar Insure. And that company actually works with vendors. So it's not a third-party insurance that you as a consumer can go to them directly and purchase. They only work with specific vendors based on the ratings. But it's Solar Insure.
Okay, next we have a question from Teresa.
Hi again. So quick question, NEM 3.0, net energy metering, what goes back to Edison and how that works. There's 2.0. I know there was supposed to be a vote at the end of January to potentially grandfather in the 2.0s for 20 years approximately. And then the 3.0, I think, has been halted because Newsom decided to have them relook at things. From my research, I haven't seen any signs that it's actually going to go through, but I'm curious to know if you know anything more.
So you've got good research because they tabled it a couple of times. We've been fighting against it. We don't want them to change the rules. So what Teresa is talking about, you guys, is as solar has been in effect, the rules for it changes over time, depending on when you get your solar. I'm on net metering 1.0. It was the first version of solar out there. So I got the best rates, I got the lowest payments, and I'm grandfathered in. Right now we're on net metering 2.0. They made some slight revisions to the solar plan, which means we just have to pay a little bit more to the utility company. Okay, so that's where we're at right now. If people go solar now, they get grandfathered in for the next 20 years, and they know that's what it's going to be. On the table is net metering 3.0. They're basically trying to change the rules again. And in a quick, easy nutshell, they're trying to make it more expensive for those of us that go solar. It's basically going to add 50, 60 bucks a month to your bill. Okay, no matter what. It's just going to add more money because now we're going to have to pay a fee to the utility for switching to solar, which we don't have to pay right now. So Teresa, to answer your question, that has gotten tabled because everybody is petitioning against it. It's not back on the table yet, so it's not set on the calendar for us to vote on again in the future, but also the professionals know that it's coming. So they're gonna change it. And we don't know when yet, just like the rates change. We don't know when, we just know it's happening. We anticipate by the end of the year sometime, we're gonna be in a new solar rule. As more and more people go solar, the utility companies figure out a way to retain more of their costs, right? And so they're trying to change some of the rules and guidelines. The beauty of it though, is whoever's in solar today, you're grandfathered in, you don't have to worry about that.
The 3.0 though, from what I was reading, was that they wanted to take away some of the grandfather years. Instead
of 25, it's 20.
Pardon?
Instead of 25, right now we're grandfathered 25, they want to reduce it to 20.
Oh, okay, I thought it was.
They want to reduce our grandfather. Oh, no. They want to reduce our grandfather time to 20. They want to reduce what the utility pays us for excess energy, right? So when we create extra energy and sell it to the grid, they pay us for that. That you would learn all that in my longer class. But they want to reduce that from 19 cents or whatever it is today down to like 5 cents.
Yes.
Right? Make it nothing. And then they also want to charge us a certain fee based on the size of our system.
Yeah.
So if you have a 5 kilowatt system, I think SCE has $7 a kilowatt on the table. So 7 times 5, $35 a month, more to your bill just because of the size of your system. That's the proposal. So we're fighting that as solar pros. We're lobbying against it. You know, we don't want to make rooftop solar worse for consumers.
Right.
But we don't know when that's going to pass yet.
So from what I was seeing, it was January 27th was supposed to be the original date approximately, and then it was only going to go into effect in May. Do you understand that if it's so that same kind of time span will stretch out if they vote? I would imagine they're not going to vote and put it like, I know you don't.
Yeah, it won't be right away. It won't be right. So the first day was January 27th. Then they moved it to February 10th. And then if it would have passed, it would have been effective in May, just like you said. So there'll be a couple month gap.
Right.
But until they bring it back up, we don't know. Hopefully we don't hear about it again, but we know how that goes.
All right.
Anything like interest rates. We hope they don't raise, but you know.
Yeah, thank you.
Great question. Thank you so much.
Yeah, there's another question from Gonzalez Gina that asks, please let me know where to register for your longer class.
Okay, awesome. I put all my contact info in the chat. So it has my email address and also my cell phone number. If you guys want to text me or shoot me an email for whatever your needs are, that way I'll get them back to you. Okay. But also everybody's going to get the PowerPoint. Hiroko is going to send that all out with the video. So you guys are going to get that.
And I think that concludes the question section, and I will turn it over to Hiroku, our president.
Okay, thank you so much.